Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to The Audio Analyst. It is no secret that I've been more than just mildly impressed with Louis Desjardins' Kronos analog products. From the Sparta to the Pro LE, and now with the Discovery contra-rotational platter turntable systems, to the new resonance suppression Tonearms, the benchmark setting Discovery RS, which is now my reference, and the more affordable and astonishing Kronoscope RS. Now, as such, these Tonearms are products I've covered here on the channel, starting with episode 69, sharing my April visit to the Kronos factory and to Louis' listening suite in Montreal, followed by my more detailed look at the flagship arm, the Discovery RS, with episode 71. Now, I spent 4 days this past week in Orlando, Florida, installing the remarkable Kronoscope RS Tonearm on Maurice Jeffries' Kronos 0.5 Sparta turntable and helping him to dial in his entire system. Now, you'll recall Maurice has been on the channel in the past while visiting to listen to my system and was featured in episodes 91 and 94. He writes for both Positive Feedback and Enjoy the Music and has created a series of review articles based on listening in his current space called the New Apartment Lounge. Now, we actually shot 2 episodes there in the New Apartment Lounge while I was visiting last week. But some unexpected problems with the video camera negated my ability to use either of those recordings, I'm sorry to say. So today, the Kronoscope RS Tonearm will have its day in the spotlight in this video chat that we recorded about the experience. Now, for detail and convenience sake, Maurice's entire system is listed in today's description section. And I guess interestingly enough, though neither of us mentioned it in today's discussion, this was all done to facilitate the full review Maurice will be delivering to readers on the Kronoscope RS. Watch for that full review sometime soon. Until then, here is our discussion.
All right, everybody. Here we are, broadcasting from the Audio Analyst Central here in the Midwest and from the New Apartment Lounge in Orlando, Florida. We have my good friend and colleague, Maurice Jeffries, is here to join us. He writes for Positive Feedback and Enjoy the Music, and we've been buddies for going on 7 years now, maybe 8, is it? I think it was about 2015 we started hanging out, wasn't it?
You've put up with me that long?
Yeah, it's kind of odd, huh?
I mean, normally my relationships end after 6 months, whether they're romantic or platonic. But this is a milestone. I must say, we need to celebrate.
Well, I mentioned in the intro to this that I had been there and we planned to shoot this live in your room. We actually did, and I had camera problems. We'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
But so thanks for joining me here today to go over this, because I really wanted people to hear this firsthand from you. So today we're talking about the installation of the Kronoscope RS, the second of the 2 RS Tonearms, on your Kronos 0.5 Sparta. Now, I got there. You picked me up from the airport. We had a nice meal. We went to your New Apartment Lounge, and we started disassembling the 0.5. Sparta.
Much easier than disassembling the full-blown Sparta or the LE.
Well, and quite honestly, I think I've been working with turntables for probably 48 or 50 years. I think the Kronos tables and the Kronos Tonearms are pretty easy to work on.
Wow.
But basically what we did is we took off the arm board that holds the 10.5-inch arm, which you had Gelco mounted, which was a very respectable arm. And we put on the arm board that holds the 12-inch arm, and we installed the Discovery RS. I'm sorry, the Kronoscope RS. And after a mishap or two, we got a cartridge installed. We got the thing lined up, dialed in with the protractor. We got it set up. We got it tracking perfectly. We set it into play. We spent a little bit of time doing some other things to the system, which we'll talk about at another point. But what we ended up with in terms of LP playback, I thought was pretty impressive. What were your impressions, buddy?
I shared your same impressions. I was simply floored. And for our viewers, I had then Gelco's top of the line Tonearm. If I understand the fate of the firm, its engineers essentially ran out of steam, and the company decided to fold after many, many years in operation. So I had the Gelco top of the line Tonearm with the introductory DS audio cartridge, and I was getting really good sound at
Sure.
that price point. Uh, what I heard and continue to hear with the Kronoscope RS and now the Dynavector 20Xl cartridges in a whole different league altogether.
Yes, the DV-20X low output.
It's low output.
That's what the L's for. Yes.
About 2.5.
It's about three. It's about 3 milli. Yeah, it's about 3 millivolts.
Yeah. Well, Louis is, I think, at the forefront of that. I'm referring
We
to
agree.
The designer of the Kronos turntables and the magnificent RS Tonearms. By the way, am I correct in my understanding that the Black Beauty and Helena Tonearms have been discontinued?
They have. They no longer are. Yeah.
Okay, so
there are used models out there, but they are no longer in manufacture.
Well, you first, and then I with David Robinson of Positive Feedback heard the discovery and the original Kronoscope Tonearm. This is the pre-RS designation.
Yep.
When the model first came out, and
I've covered a little bit of that history in the intro here, buddy. But please share your impressions. Go ahead.
Well, I was simply floored by what I heard and wrote as much. I had never heard analog playback quite so convincing and quite so natural and realistic, and by no small margin. And everyone in the room shared my impressions.
Yeah.
I didn't quite know what to expect in my own system. I don't have the full counter rotational setup yet, although I've been bugging Louis for the past month or so to make sure that his suppliers get me the upgrades before he completely retires that model. He just laughs at me every time I threaten to come and, you know.
It is supply chain issues, buddy. It's just, it's, everybody's facing it. So, but maybe when you get that, I'll come back. We'll have some more fun.
Well, I think that would
you put out some good booze. I'll say that.
Well, we did drink and eat well. I mean,
we had some good meals too, brother.
We are blessed with really good restaurants. It's a very ethnically diverse community, and if you're a foodie like you and I are, it's a great place to hang out. But
it was a blast.
I didn't know what to expect and how much of the performance gains that I would hear in my more modest system that I heard with your system with the LE and the Discovery RS. And at Louis' house with the full-blown Discovery and the Discovery RS and the Discovery and the original Kronoscope at Bill's at GTT Audio. Yep. I would sum it up by saying that I heard some of the same things, just not to quite the same degree.
And I honestly would agree with you. I mean, for me to kind of put a long story short, it's simple. It's the same kind of performance, just a little less in terms of the extremes of perhaps not quite as much resolution, not quite as much tonal balance, but so freaking close.
Oh my goodness.
The one thing that I was shocked, well, I won't say shocked with because I'd heard that arm before in Montreal, but we pretty much obliterated Groove Rush on your system, did we not?
I had the same visceral response to the lack of Groove Rush.
Yeah.
That I had at Louis and that I had at Bill's. And at Bill's, in fact, it was in some respects even more pronounced.
Well, that was the first time you heard it. It was like it took the top of your head off. You're like, oh my God,
And Bill has this magnificent dedicated main listening room at GTT Audio, and you can hear everything that the turntable is doing and not doing. And that absence of Groove Rush, that soft whooshing, we're just all used to it. It doesn't exist. I mean, yes, pops and clicks to the extent that they're on the LP, they're still there, but they're easily pushed off to the side or listened through and around. They don't detract from the music, but it's that absence of that groove rush, wow and flutter noise floor that the Tonearm suppresses or completely works around or eliminates.
Well, that's what the RS stands for in that Tonearm is resonance suppression. And I just want to recap briefly what I've said before is that forever we had always just assumed that what we call groove rush, that hissing as we, you drop the needle in a groove and hear shh, we had always just assumed that was a native sound of the needle being traced through the groove. When after hearing Louis' arms, it has become apparent to most of all of us who have heard it that it was indeed an artifact of some kind of resonance between the stylus, the cantilever, the cartridge body, the tone arm, the platform, some group of resonances that he has managed to suppress. Because now, dude, it is not absolutely silent, but it's so quiet that you hear pre-echo and then the music starts. You don't hear any it's insane.
It's really remarkable, and everything is enhanced as a result. Overall sense of stability, pacing, tonality is. I'm getting tonality from my system. It doesn't rival what I heard of your system, but very little does, quite honestly.
And by the way, let me interrupt 1 second, Maurice. Folks, his entire system will be listed in today's description section, so you can see exactly what the system is. And if Maurice is going to be kind enough, we will do a very soon another issue dealing with his entire system, because I think it's a remarkably good system. So
thank you.
My apologies. Please continue, buddy. I just wanted to let people know if they were wondering what we were listening to.
Absolutely. I heard great bass, incredible dynamics.
Dude.
I don't know if you ever had this experience before, but because of the system changes and tweaking and speaker positioning and all that other stuff that we worked on over the week, coupled with the advances in the LP playback system, I don't have to play the system as loudly. The details, the nuances are there. The noise floor is lowered so much that even modest playback levels on some discs can produce satisfactory sound pressure levels. Important in the lounge when I can't sleep at 12 o'clock at night and I want to get up and listen to some music, but not disturb anyone else.
Well, I was also blown away, buddy. The amount of dynamic contrast that system reveals, even at lower levels now, at lower volumes, is spectacular. And the thing you were talking about with the bass, I was taken by not only how well it extended deeply, but how the transitions and the pitch definition were so much more refined.
But the net overall enhancement of performance from the low bass to the top of the speaker's range, and just settling everything and bringing everything into proper proportion and balance is really quite remarkable.
Now, when I changed it here, and I'm not as familiar with your system, so I'm going to ask you what you heard. For me, the PRaT stuff, pace, rhythm, and timing, was also redefined for me. Not so much that it wasn't there before, but there was a stronger sense of pace, a more engaging sense of rhythm, and the timing. You hear micro differences in drumming timing and things that just give that drummer his personality that you didn't hear before the arrival of my arm. Did you notice anything like that?
And IX had that same experience, Greg. The sense of momentum and drive and low level transient precision, and the tonal expressiveness and fluidity that comes with it. It just blew my socks off. And remember, I've only got a $1,200 cartridge.
Yeah.
And so we had a little cartridge mishap, which we'll discuss to some extent. It still pains me. Oh, woe is me.
I wasn't going to bring it up, brother.
but even with the $1,200 cartridge, which is not a mediocre instrument by any means.
No, not at all.
The sound is amazing. I mean, genuinely. And I think what the Tonearm forces any cartridge attached to do is to perform at its absolute best.
It allows it to give everything it's got. And I mentioned to you when I was there, that Dynavector, it really is a tremendous compromise between, the parts expense using an aluminum cantilever, but still a micro ridge stylus. So you still have the best ride through the groove, if you will, with a little bit of compromise in some other areas. And I think that cartridge really exemplifies what can be done with transient response for the money. I really think that cartridge is an exceptional cartridge I believe the retail is like $1,250. So
again,
it's amazing.
Entry level, certainly a step up purchase for somebody who started with a $300 or $400 moving iron or moving magnet cartridge and wants to dip their toes in and see what the moving coil universe is all about. And they won't be disappointed. And
it's a micro ridge stylus, which I mean, that's
it twitches the grooves pretty accurately. the Parasound JC3 Plus Phono stage, I always thought sounded a little bit closed in on top. I don't think we heard any of that.
No.
With the Kronoscope RS Tonearm in the system. I mean, the beauty of Louis' Tonearms and turntable combinations, their systems really,
Yeah.
is I think that at the front end of the chain, they help to liberate everything else down the chain, which is a really remarkable component and a testament to what Louis has achieved. You and I have waxed, and I and David and Bill have waxed enthusiastic about what Louis accomplished. I think a lot of people are quite honestly skeptical, and I get that.
But once you hear it,
dude, absolutely. I mean, you have to hear it.
Yeah.
Please go to the Florida Audio Expo show. Go to Expona, because the Kronoscope or Discovery Tonearms will feature in the audio company room, or possibly in a room that the Von Schweikert folks put together. Is Bill going to do his own room, or is he going to?
I'm not sure about Florida. He probably will at Expona. Yes.
And so almost certainly, if he does his own room, you'll hear
one of those two arms,
Tonearms on one of the tables.
Yeah.
It's just unlike anything I've ever heard. And there are some great analog components out there from
sure.
Louis' stuff is just special.
We don't disagree at all. And you know, the fact that you mentioned, you know, every one of us who had the opportunity to hear originally the Discovery and the Kronoscope arm, you know, you two talked about it with Louis there at GTT, and both of you mentioned, you know, Weaver was raving about this, and we were sure he was just nuts. Then we heard it.
Yeah.
And everybody who has had the, you know, I've had a bunch of people say, oh, yeah, whatever, it can't possibly. I'm like, okay, you know, no one has heard everything, clearly. Yeah, but in my experience, which is pretty vast, this thing, and David Robinson as well, this stuff is beyond everything else. It sets an entirely new standard, and one that I think even you mentioned may take some time for someone else to even approach, let alone try and best.
Well, and the nice thing for me at a far lower price point is that I'm getting a lot, if not all of that experience at a far lower price.
Yeah.
Not cheap by any means,
no.
but remarkable. I'm not sure there's another turntable Tonearm set up under $50,000 that I'd be interested in owning based on what I heard in my system.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's safe to say, cartridge notwithstanding, that overall the performance would rival final purchase performance of lots of other turntable manufacturers with the 0.5 and the Kronoscope RS.
I do not disagree with you. I think that the value that the Kronos stuff offers at any price point in the line is significantly higher than you get from virtually any other manufacturer. I'm not slamming other manufacturers. There are great products out there. But what I've heard over the decades now, well, going on, 13 years, 14 years now since he introduced the Pro LE, is a level of performance for price that is unequaled by other manufacturers. And I know it's, look, I have no monetary interest in that company. I receive no monetary support from Kronos. I just think the products are freaking exceptional.
Louis never bought you a smoked beef sandwich in Montreal?
Well, he's bought me a meal or 5 over the years, yeah. But I don't think that, even a $100 meal wouldn't really count as much of a bribe, would it? I mean,
he spent $100 on you. He only spent.
I don't know. I'm saying maybe. When we're in Germany, it gets pricey to go out to have dinner. So,
I wonder. I'm trying to think of the manufacturers that offer a $30,000 turntable Tonearm setup that can exceed the performance of what I'm hearing in my system. I'm not.
Good luck.
I think that's exactly right. Is it out there? Does it exist? Maybe.
It's possible. Look, as I've stated, and you well know, nobody's heard everything, and there's no chance you're going to hear every combination of cartridge on, every combination of arm on, every turntable. It's just not going to happen. But although I've been doing this a long time, Bill's been doing it a long time, David's been doing it a long time. You've been doing it a good while. I think at some point when we say in our experience this is the best we've heard, that should count. So
absolutely, Louis, we're in awe. Sonically and from an engineering perspective, I mean, he just thinks out of the box.
He thinks so far outside the box. It's insane to me.
Well, that's what I think makes him a great designer. He has a childlike curiosity and insatiable thirst to make things better. But music lovers benefit from
Absolutely.
that curiosity, that inexhaustible curiosity. I think there's a French word. Is it insouciance? You know, this thirst for knowledge and
Yeah.
and making things better and learning how to do things. And Louis admits that he's got a set of core principles, but there's a lot of trial and error, a lot of notional experimentation before he actually puts, you know, metal to copper to carbon fiber and comes up with a prototype. It all has gelled in his workshop.
No question,
The
buddy.
workshop as well. I mean, the workshop is a magnificent space in and of itself.
You've been up there and you've gotten to see it. So yeah,
it's just what you would expect. You know, there are pockets of chaos and disorder, but then there is a very linear, orderly, structured, you know, assembly platform, and he seems to be able to do it all. I mean,
Yep.
At one moment he's, you know, coming up with 10 different ideas at once, and then 30 minutes later, it's all focused and distilled into 2 or 3 core principles that he can actually use and implement. And that's what's amazing. He's a lot.
And it's been so successful, buddy. It's such. I'm so happy with my Pro, my Discovery RS, and my at Zero Gold. The result, you have heard it here. It's pretty splendid.
Yeah, it's about as good, if not a little bit better, than the original Discovery with the original Tonearm. I think that the Discovery RS Tonearm is makes the LE combination almost as good as the Discovery with the original Tonearm. I mean, and that's saying a lot because that original Discovery with that original Tonearm was, well, the Discovery itself I don't think has changed. It's the Tonearm.
No, just the Tonearm, yeah.
Well,
and something you haven't heard yet. Louis sent me some new feet, the feet that he developed originally for the Phono stage, for the stand for the Phono stage, which I have installed on my LE between the turntable and the SCPS-1.
Pretty good.
It's taken it another step up, and I'm going to be talking about that in a future episode too. Maurice, I cannot thank you for the visit. Your hospitality was unbelievable. We had a great time. Wonderful booze, wonderful food, great conversation. Can't thank you enough. Thanks for doing this, since the camera issues prevented us from using the actual recorded episode.
Absolutely.
And my best to you, buddy.
All right, brother.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
As you will have gathered by our conversation today, the Kronoscope RS Tonearm is an exceptional tonearm. One of the 2 finest performing tonearms in either of our experience, as a matter of fact. It will take your LP playback to places you simply wouldn't have believed possible before its installation. It is just one of those experiences that you simply must have for yourself in order to understand just how exceptionally this tonearm performs. Guys, you really do owe it to yourself to seek out either of these remarkable resonance suppression arms, the Kronoscope RS or the flagship Discovery RS, and hear what all the buzz is about. These arms simply redefine state-of-the-art performance. They're spectacular. As always, thank you for taking the time to drop in today. Further information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.